Good evening and welcome to the Osceola County School Board regularly scheduled meeting for Tuesday, August 27, 2024. Tonight we will have our invocation by Pastor Jesus Chapman from Nacion de Fe Church in Kissimmee. Our Pledge of Allegiance led by Dr. Dave Barrio, our Assistant Superintendent for Student Services. Our national anthem will be sung by student singers from OXA. Our mission statement will be read by Dr. Carol Green, Chief Officer for Human Resources. And interpretation services will be provided by Naira Elvira, our bilingual community liaison for multicultural department. At this time, would you please stand? Pastor Chapman.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here to pray. So the word says that when 2 or 3 were gathered together, He is in the midst. And so today we declare over everyone here that the Lord is going to be the one guiding everyone speaking here. Father, we thank you for this day, for this appointed day that you have made today. We gather here today in your name always, thinking of you first. I declare over each and every thing you're speaking that they will have the wisdom to speak your word and everybody will be in one accord. I thank you for this day today. I thank you for this afternoon. I thank you for each and one of the people here. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, now bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
School District of Osceola County's mission is inspiring all learners to reach their highest potential as responsible, productive citizens.
I am Naira Alvira, I'm here to provide interpretation services in Spanish. Soy Naira Alvira y estoy aquí para proveer interpretación al español.
We are on to positive comment from board members and superintendent. I'm going to start, however, with Joe Arzuaga from OHS for his appointment. He missed being able to speak at the meeting where he was appointed, so we invite you up now to have your moment. Okay, we'll wait to see maybe at the end of positive comment. Dr. Shanna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Few positive comments, if it's okay. So First positive comment, I really want to give kudos to our high school administrators. Having to manage this Florida summer weather on Friday nights is no picnic. And our administrators have to use extreme caution and good judgment in determining the safest possible environment for us to play football on Friday nights. I happen to be in celebration on Friday night and working directly with Mr. Todd and his athletic director and ensuring that everything was safe before we allowed the students to play and we allowed the fans into the stands. And so I really want to thank our high school administrators because that is not an easy job. So thank you to them. Casey Corbett, principal, Barton Settlement Elementary. The morning after our last board meeting, we had a very interesting situation where we were having a smoke issue in one of our utility rooms at her school. She did a great job keeping her school completely calm while we were able to go ahead and remediate the issue, fire department as well. And we were able to get that school back up and running very, very quickly. But it was only because she had her policies and procedures down pat. And she's one of the best when it comes to procedures. And it was evident that day. I want to thank our maintenance team and our safety, security, and emergency management team for their quick action as well. And then I also want to take a moment and recognize John Boyd, our executive director in human resources, who was actually tapped to speak at the next Florida Educational Negotiator meeting about the communication between the district education negotiators and the unions, because he is considered to be the number one when it comes to the communication strategy between the school district and union leadership. And so I think that is not just to John's credit, but also to the union's credit as well, being collaborative with us. So congratulations to John for that. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Ms. Castillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wanted to thank the representatives from ALCO, OTEC, Valencia, and FTC for their attendance this weekend at the Mercy Foundation Education Fair. So I was able to co-host that with Commissioner Martinez, and it was just a really good event, and I was really just happy and grateful to have representatives from the district there giving folks information about how to further their education. I also want to thank, or shout out, not thank, although thank yous are enough as well, for Ms. Mojes. We all know Ms. Mojes. We all know Ms. Mojes from Toho. And once again, her students did extremely well at the Florida Graphic Design Industry Print Awards. We had a best of show, and that was Alana King, so congratulations to her. And in total, they received 13 excellent awards and 22 honorable mentions. So as per usual, well done, Ms. Mojes and the Toho Digital Design team. And Dr. Shanoff and the Community Relations team, I don't know how many conversations we had over the past 2 weeks about issues that I saw online, and I was just like, can you look into this? And you're like, yeah. 2 hours later, you're like, we fixed it, or we spoke to this person, or we were able to find them. Your rapid response team and the way that you are consistently plugged into the community is incredible, and I really appreciate that. So thank you, and to everyone who works to ensure that the concerns are resolved within hours typically. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Melendez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to recognize the awesome job the Education Foundation does, but they're here and I don't want to steal their thunder. But so I see the chairman, I see the board members, and just it's really hand in glove how the Education Foundation works together with the school district. So much so, I also want to honor the superintendent for going there in person. We all have busy lives, but but it's the fact that the foundation is really there for the purpose of supporting the schools in any way possible that they can with certain limitations. So I don't want to go too far into it. I'll let them go ahead and give you all the numbers and the presentations they have. I just want to let everyone know that the school district and the foundation really have a wonderful relationship where they focus on moving kids forward in all aspects of their lives. It's not just academics. You know, if they don't have food, if they don't have school supplies and things like that. Like I mentioned, I don't want to steal the thunder too much, but I just want to say that it's really a privilege to see that because throughout the state of Florida, it's not always that case. There's some relationships where it's not as tight or as collaborative as it is here in Osceola County. The other thing I want to mention too real quick, we forgot to mention Dr. Kennedy is the new principal at Osceola High School. So she had to implement the new metal detectors at the same exact time. So it's not like, hey, trial by fire. You know, it's the very first high school that's going to get these metal detectors, get the students in the school, make sure everybody's safe. And so she had to kind of learn everything. And we had a safety security meeting showing that, you know, the very first day it was rough. You know, it was like a half hour before the students can get on campus on time. But the next few days, they narrowed it down, and so now it's like basically seamless. And there's been like very little parent complaints. You know, students understood what was happening, and they also took a very customer service approach to it. It was very important that they said, hey, welcoming the students, you know, not making them feel uncomfortable or anything like that, because it's a different procedure. And the thing is, Dr. Kennedy doesn't have a blueprint. There's no other district, you know, school in the district that has it. So the fact that she took it head on, you know, took it smiling, and had very little incidents, and so I just want to give her kudos publicly to let her know that she did a wonderful job for taking it on right away and really being the model, the lead for everybody else in the district.
Mr. Aguayo?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all of the chaplains and people who have been trained as chaplains in conversations regarding the program that we'll be discussing tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in this program, and I think that without having spoken to chaplains, then you would be, I guess, without guiding principles, right, in the matter or the experience and understanding of what a chaplain does and how they serve and what they mean to the community and what they mean to families who are in need of a chaplain. So I'd like to thank all the chaplains in the community for those conversations, and I appreciate it, and I look forward to learning more and engaging with you in the upcoming 2 weeks. Thank you.
I want to echo a little bit of the conversation around the Education Foundation. I'm not going to steal their thunder either, but I do want to thank all of the businesses, the business partners, the community partners, the individuals that donated during the school supply drive that we'll be talking about here in a little bit, because it takes everybody to come together for our community and ensure our students have what they need to start the school year off right and continue throughout the year. And if you haven't donated somewhere yet and you're looking to donate, I know the current drive doesn't end until August 31st, so you've got some time this week to get it in. But the foundation collects things throughout the year, so know that that's a place you can go to and always donate your time or your money or things that you have for our schools. In addition to that, I want to say that I visited Nice Point K-8 on Friday. It was a surprise visit with Dr. Shanoff. We just popped in while we were in the area, and man, the work that goes into starting a new school is unbelievable, and I just want to give a public shout out to our teams, from their team at the school, our facilities team, our administration team, working through all of the different nuances that come up when starting, opening a new school. And really, Mr. DeWright, the principal of that school, has already committed to helping and making a list for our next principals that will be coming on to open some of the schools that we have in production right now. And I think that will be very beneficial and very helpful for someone new that's going to be doing the same thing that he's working through. But really, there's a lot of good stuff happening at that school, and there's a lot of good to come with the school in that area that's needed. So that's what I have for tonight. And Mr. Ramsey, last but not least.
Well, going last, so you have to pick through the things to say because some of the other board members
I'll start with you first.
talk about them. So I want to say a big congratulations to St. Cloud High School in Toho on the big football wins Friday night. Was able to attend Harmony. They had a tough loss. I want to thank Scott Nobles and Dave Sharma and Dr. Allen. Also, I've had some issues with schools and busing issues and some other things, and I've been able to reach out to them and thank y'all for getting them solved fairly quickly. I was able to visit 7 schools the last week and a half. A big shout out to all those schools. I'm amazed at how well they're being run. Only a week and a half, and things are clicking along. Still got little issues. I know there's some IT problems, and I've talked to Dr. Shanoff about that, and some computer problems at a few schools. But again, I'd like to thank all the teachers and staff for all the work that they do.
I've been notified that Joe Arzuka, I don't know if I'm saying his name right now, so sorry if I'm rushing it, is here now. So if you'd like to take this stand and give your comments. In 1 minute.
Everybody has to act surprised now.
And welcome to.
I'll be happy to defer my time. That was amazing. I love it. So, thank you. Good evening. I apologize for my tardiness. Obviously, I'm still trying to get my bearings down here. Get my glasses. So good evening, school board members. I'd like to thank you and your wonderful educational leadership, Superintendent Shanoff, Dr. Shanoff, Dr. Kennedy, her wonderful cabinet, which I just joined, Mr. Ayers, Mr. Bronski, Dr. Roy, and especially Christy Ray, who's on the district level, who kind of supported me through this process. As someone new to the school system and to the state, you have taken a chance with someone who you never met. I want to live up to the expectations of supporting the growth and maturity of our scholars at Osceola High School. Sometimes in life you get thrown a curveball, and a couple of years ago my wife did that to me. She decided to move down here, and I've been kind of, my middle kid calls me military dad, so I was kind of flying back once a month whenever there were long weekends, kind of visiting family. And it just got to the point where I was down here more than I was kind of up there this past year. I knew it was time, and it was definitely time to make the jump. And sometimes your better half is the one who is the voice of reason, even though you kind of see what's ahead of you. It was a huge challenge, and I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. I decided it was time to close the book on my 30 years of being an educator in New York City public schools and begin this new challenge. Now, while that number of years seems like a lot, seems like, hey, there's nothing that I haven't seen, I can tell you I have a lot to learn, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to have a new experience. During my short tenure here, I've been here this is my 2nd day of work. Thank you again for appointing me and also allowing me to kind of close up shop up in New York. It's been a wonderful two days. I know first day I felt kind of worthless. I'm trying to absorb everything, but they've been nothing but supportive. The amount of teachers and staff members who have stopped and just say hello, say, hey, I need your help. Can you give me your thoughts on this? It's been amazing. So again, thank you for the opportunity. I want to thank also, I know I mentioned her, my wife Jeanette, who kind of blindly took the plunge. She took I have 3 kids. I have one is 27, another 19-year-old, and a 6-year-old. I call him the Oops because that was a time when I took on the role of principal. I kind of running around checking out a head up there, and but wonderful, lovely young man. They're currently at Disney right now, so it tells you how much they're loving life down here. But she took them and she wanted to start a new life, and I think it was definitely something that I should have just went right behind her. But thank you again for the opportunity. I look forward to learning from you guys, but also my promise to you, my promise to the students of Osceola High School is that I'm going to bring my experience. I'm going to bring, I come from a rich background of being a CTE educator. I've been that for, a teacher, assistant principal, and now recently a principal, and now back to assistant principal, but just been a CTE all my life, and I think that's something that we need to embrace and help strengthen wherever we go. I think that's something that it gives value to the diploma. It's not just a high school diploma, but also what are you doing with it? And I think being a student who graduates from a CTE program is something that will give more relevance to the high school diploma. So I hope to bring that knowledge and also that kind of passion and drive that I received and I kind of impart to all my former students, to the new students of Osceola High School. So thank you.
With that, we are now on to presentations, and our first presentation is actually Danielle Marfara, our Coordinator of College and Career Counseling with our Travel and Leisure Charitable Foundation partnership.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danielle Malfera, and I'm the Coordinator of College and Career Counseling for the School District of Osceola County. I have the immense pleasure tonight of sharing a partnership that has cultivated over the 8 months that has included myself, stakeholders and partners in REA, and also partners in education, our principals, as well as our assistant superintendents that have really helped guide this pathway. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Michael Brown, the President and CEO of Travel and Leisure Company, which is headquartered in Orlando. Travel and Leisure is the world's leading membership and leisure travel company, operating 8 vacation club resorts in Central Florida, including 3 in Osceola County. Michael joined the company in 2017 after serving in executive roles for Hilton Grand Vacations and Marriott Vacations Worldwide. He is a member of the Orlando Economic Partnership, Governor's Council, and Advisory Council member of the Enzion Theater, and serves on the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Metro Orlando Board of Directors. In 2021, he led the creation of the Travel and Leisure Charitable Foundation to promote educational excellence in diverse communities, and the program he has brought to our district is sure to change lives. So Michael Brown, you have the floor.
Good evening. I am Mike Brown from Travel and Leisure, and they always say the toughest part of presentations is presenting right after lunch because you can't keep people's attention. And tonight I get to present before Swish. So I hope you'll bear with me for just a few minutes as I thank the chairperson and the entire school board for the invitation to be here tonight. And stealing what you all do of positive comments or positive remarks, I would like to make a positive comment that are not in my prepared remarks about that national anthem. I mean, that was phenomenal, and really just a bunch of talented students with beautiful voices. I was moved by their national anthem, so thank you for letting me make that positive remark. The Travel Leisure Charitable Foundation has partnered with the School District of Osceola County to bring the Travel and Leisure Scholarship Program to qualifying Osceola County students beginning this year. So effective 3 weeks ago, this program is available. This new scholarship provides an opportunity for qualifying students in the Reedy Creek Elementary and Ponciana High School District to seek a higher education, whether that be at an in-state public institution, community college, or technical school. We were inspired by the work of philanthropist Harris Rosen when he did his work in Tangelo Park, and then he took that program to other communities. That inspired us to establish the Travel and Leisure Foundation in 2021. We simultaneously announced the same scholarship program in the town of Eatonville in North Orlando, which has since helped 26 Eatonville students and growing achieve their dreams of a higher education. Using our Eatonville Scholarship Program as the blueprint, we are honored to partner with the School District of Osceola County to help remove financial barriers and inspire local students to soar. We want to express our gratitude to the School District of Osceola County with special thanks to Danielle Malfara, Reedy Creek Elementary Principal Katie Adams, and Ponciana High School Principal Jeff Schwartz, along with Superintendent Shanoff, Superintendent Shanoff, for their warm welcome into this community. We would also like to thank Congressman Darren Soto for the championing this meaningful cause I spent the entire Don Quixote Awards last year that's held at Disney every year speaking about this program just 8 months ago. Harris Rosen, I would also like to thank for his pioneering efforts to support underserved and all communities through access to education and programming. And lastly, the Travel and Leisure team, including Kim Marshall and the Travel and Leisure Charitable Foundation Board, as well as Tia Pendleton, both here tonight, and our diversity resource group that embraces the Hispanic community, which is so strong here in Osceola County. Thank you.
Much shorter. Very briefly, I'm going to have both Katie Adams and Principal Jeffrey Schwartz come on up and just say a few words about how this is going to impact their school community, and then we will wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. We are so thankful that Reedy Creek gets to be a part of this opportunity. As we know, community support is so important, and this is going to not only help our students now and our families now, but also it's helping to break down those educational barriers for the future. So we are very, very thankful and appreciate Travel and Leisure for selecting Reedy Creek and Point Siena as for this opportunity.
Yeah, this is a huge deal for the Point Siena community. What I love most about this scholarship opportunity is that it's for the families that have decided to make that commitment exactly to the Point Siena area. The students had to start at Reedy Creek and go all the way up through high school at Point Siena High School. So this is going to be a game changer, not only for our students, but for the Point Siena community at large. So thank you guys so much. This is awesome.
Thanks to partnerships like the one we've fostered with the Travel and Leisure Charitable Foundation, students are going to be able to consider a future in education post-secondary without any fear of having to pay out of pocket for anything. So we thank them for their time and their investment, and we really look forward to celebrating the students that get to benefit from this opportunity in May. Welcome to the family, Travel and Leisure. My birthday.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
Do I need to put the shirt on?
If you're here from Travel and Leisure, you just please come on up so you can take a quick picture and memory this moment. That's what I'm saying.
Do it big, do it sexy.
Hopefully my workout allows me to put this on.
Who wants to hold the first one? Here, we're going to come right up over here.
Thank you so much. Hi. Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Love the shirt already. Lisa, you started this. Miss Morris.
You're not getting out of this, Morris. Get up here.
Thank you. Ready? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, the moment Swish has been waiting for.
Swish came tonight to tell us about our annual school supply drive. As we know, we're all headed back to school and it's been an amazing start, but there's lots of students out in Osceola County that don't always have the essential school supplies that we need. This time, I'd like to have our chairman of the Education Foundation Board of Directors, Kathy Pearson, come up here and say a few words with Swish.
How's it going, dude? That's a hard act to follow. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to personally thank you all for everything you do and the partnership we have with the Education Foundation Osceola and the school district. It's amazing. Not many foundations can say that, so very, very proud. I've been 24 years on this board and finally now the chair, so I'm loving life. So, and Swish, thanks for coming to celebrate with us. First, I just want to say, as you all know, Carrie mentioned, we have a school supply drive going on. It ends this Saturday. Coming up, we have we're selling tickets, we're raising money, but I'd also like to thank partners that have helped us get where we are today. And it's the folks here at the New Start Thrift Store. Thank you so much for your partnership. Legacy Realty, over inside in the back here. And then, of course, they contributed $1,000. Then we have the Rotary Club of Kissimmee. They also contributed $500. And of course, we couldn't have done it without the Osceola Magic. The partnership we have with them and the creativity that they're doing to help our students, our teachers, is truly amazing. So we're grateful. Thank you, Swish. You rock. So if you all aren't familiar with our supply drive, of course, we take donations, as Heather and Julius, thank you so much for your input on that. We take cash. Cash is really king because cash we can go and we can buy more pencils, more paper, more pens, the needs that the teachers need to bring into the classroom. But then we also love supplies. So companies that want to get out there and go for it. Good luck beating Bruce Vickers because his team at the tax collector's office, they rock it. So good luck beating them. But I just wanted to thank you all again for your commitment. We look forward to continuing for many years to come. And Dr. Shanna, thank you for being a part of our team and all of you all. So thank you so much. Anything I left out? We're good? Great. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all later. Oh, photo? Photo. And as you all can see, Swish is holding the flyer, the QR code. All you got to do is just take a picture, download, and you can make a donation right there. So if any of y'all have your cameras and you'd like to make a donation tonight, hey, Hans. Here's the man behind the Osceola Magic, Hans. Hans Steiber. Yes, absolutely.
Kathy, you go.
There you go. Oh, I get to be next to the Swish?
Yes.
Hi.
That's a tough one. Good to see you.
Hit my Swish. Do any of our school board members want to join?
Anybody?
All do.
Yeah.
All right. Come on. More the merrier. Turn. We're turning this way. So go this way a little bit.
Slide this way, guys. Probably.
Come on, Julius.
Oh, okay.
Go this way. Swish. We're going to go left.
Swish. Ah, you got it.
I hope you have Savannah, is that working?
Alright, everyone.
Chicken poop. Again, thank you.
All right, are we doing this?
Yeah.
Thank you, Swish.
Erwin, did you want to say something before we go?
Yes, I would like to.
Okay, I would just like to say something. I'm an Osceola County teacher. I've been in Osceola all my life as a teacher. I'm hitting 31 years doing it, and there is no better job in the world. And I tell you, when you watch these students, I get them in 9th grade, and they graduate in 12th grade, and they graduate into a career. I heard the gentleman talking about CTE, and yes, that's where I am, is CTE. And I love teaching what I teach. I partner up with all these business partners that hire our kids. We have competitions, which any of you are welcome to come and see our competitions. I know, John, you are there every year with our competitions to see them. And these kids really accelerate in what they do. They are the best of the best anywhere. Coming around, you're going to see my board members, Jeannie, Stan, and my beautiful wife, Terry. And we're giving you out a gift. Please enjoy the gift. In today's society, you want that hand sanitizer. Very important. Keep you healthy. Keep you good. but I've partnered up with the Education Foundation for many, many years. It's a great program. I'm always there to give. I can't tell you how many times Kathy has seen my truck show up at the warehouse with all sorts of goodies for them. So again, guys, thank you for everything you do, and believe me, I appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we are now on to our fine arts moment. Student singers from Osceola. We are on to agenda modifications. Dr. Shannon.
I have no agenda modifications here.
Mr. Melendez.
No modifications.
Mr. Arguello.
15.01, I am pushing to the next meeting.
Mr. Ramsey.
No modifications.
Ms. Castillo.
No modifications. Madam Chair, I make a motion to accept the agenda with the modification of pulling board member Arguello's item 15.01.
I have a motion by Ms. Castillo. I have a second by Mr. Melendez. All those in favor? favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Motion to approve item 12.04.
10.01.
10.1, motion to 10.1.
10.01 by Mr. Melendez, a second by,
Second.
second by Ms. Castillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. 11.03.
Motion approved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Melendez, a second by Ms. Castillo. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. 12.04.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Motion by Ms. Castillo,
Second.
second by Mr. Melendez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We are now open for public comment. We have a lot of public comment here tonight. I want to remind you that we do have a policy on civility and decorum. Please make sure that you are following that during your comments tonight. When you approach the podium, please make sure you list your name and your address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. We are starting with Jacqueline Rodriguez. And a reminder, if you leave the microphone there and just adjust it to the height that you need, there were issues with people being able to hear members that took the microphone into their hand last meeting. So leave it there and just move it to the height you need.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Rodriguez. I live here in Kissimmee, 417 La Paz Drive, Kissimmee, Florida, 34743. I'm a mom of 2 teenagers, disabled. One of them is autistic, cerebral palsy, lower development delay, blind, he's nonverbal, and he was in Osceola High School until last Thursday. So the first day of school, August 14, he was restrained because he was aggressive during transition. So I received a call from the principal, Ms. Kennedy, and the assistant that he was aggressive. I understand all that, and they restrained them. They restrained him. However, when they restrained him, he was facing down the floor. The 38 minutes. The report was not given to me until 8 days later. The incident report. I request by email investigation, statement, reports. I need more information, and at this time, I did not have any email from the ESC director, any investigation, anything at this time. And my son has bruise. One thing is marked and one thing is bruise. And I know about restraint, because I was assistant teacher in Horizon when Ms. Jenninger was principal, and I know they teach me how to do the restraint. I took the training for CPI. But one thing is restraint and one thing is going home with this mark. It's a person that cannot speak. He take 8 medication per day, and he went home with this mark. And I received a call from Miss Kennedy telling me that he will go home with mark. However, the report say that the nurse checked him and he don't have mark. How he came with this mark? He's still fighting to sleep because he's afraid to go to school the next day. I don't want investigation for this. I had to speak for him. He is non-verbal and he has mark. When I spoke with the police involved, because I know who police was, I had the information. They told me that when they went to the classroom, my son was facing down the floor, all the way down, half of his body on the cream concrete. That's why his knee has the bruise, and half of his body on the mat. And they told me that's not we do the restraint because he's a medical, he take medication. The police explained me that they do the restraint on the side, not face down the floor. So when his dad picked him up, his dad was crying, he was in shock because it was another person holding my son's head toward the floor, blocking the way for him to breathe. We are talking about a person that cannot speak. He's disabled. He's blind, and he came home with bruise, and this time nobody explained me exactly what happened. I need investigation, I need a statement, and it was all denied. 8 days after I received the report, and it's not true the report. It's not the all information there. That's what I'm here. I don't want to be here. I sent an email requesting meeting, and nobody answered. That's what I'm here, because nobody hear me. Nobody replied to me, and I had to fight for my son.
Dr. Shiro?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this. This is the first I'm hearing of it. We'll be contacting you, ma'am. We'll actually meet you out in the foyer to discuss further. Okay? Thank you.
Next up is Amanda Longworthy.
So it's Amanda Langworthy with an A.
Thank you, sorry.
1945 17th Street, Sarasota. I was Florida born and raised, and requiring to give my address and public comment is honestly kind of a violation of my privacy. I'm here with the Voices of Florida Fund. Allowing chaplains in public schools shouldn't be a debate. The continuous blurring of religion in our government should be stopped and should not be up for debate. This country was founded on the principle of having certain inherent freedoms, and the freedom of and from religion being one of those. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. By allowing chaplains who are religious figures with specific faith-based roles into public schools, an arm of the government, we blur this vital boundary. This could start the imposing of religious views on students who are there to receive an unbiased education, not indoctrination. The dangers of this proposed policy change become even more pronounced when we consider the unique vulnerabilities of adolescents. The National Institute of Mental Health reports that nearly half of all teens suffer from some form of mental health issue, with a large number in severe distress. This increases 3 to 4 times if they are LGBTQIA+. For these young individuals, school is often a sanctuary where they seek understanding. Introducing chaplains into this environment raises the troubling possibility of proselytizing. When teenagers are subjected to religious doctrines in a setting meant for their mental and emotional development, where they are to learn how to think critically, it not only undermines their right to a neutral space to do so, but also exposes them to potential coercion and manipulation. This would deny the students and their parents proper ability to consent, because even with an opt-in or opt-out option, how do you plan on enforcing and properly regulating that? This doesn't align with the ethical standards we expect from our nation's educational institutions. This district has over 69,000 students in grades K through 12 who represent 140 countries and who speak 98 languages. How many religions is that? Schools already have religious clubs outside of normal school hours available, and I know this because I was a member of a Christian club in my high school. Thomas Jefferson stated that there must be a wall of separation that clearly limited the involvement of religions and religious leaders in matters related to our nation and its governance. In a society that values freedom and the equality for all to self-determination, it is essential that our public schools remain secular. The only way to ensure that every student, regardless of their beliefs, receives fair and unbiased support is by keeping religious activities separate from our school functions. Getting actual licensed therapists in schools would be a better idea. 70% of children receive help in school, however, many schools face shortages of mental health staff, with students' needs often exceeding staffing available. This is where you should be looking to change policy. Currently, Florida has 1 school counselor for every 459 students. Actual steps that you can take to help your students would be to include actual mental health therapists on campus and anti-discrimination policies to protect your students' freedoms and well-being, or even further partnering with your local mental health providers in the area to provide broader support. Thank you.
I have to object to the offline conversations between the attorney and the chairwoman. I don't think this should, it doesn't matter what you're clarifying, should be made public. It should not be in private, having conversations behind the days in secret. Your comments should be public and on the record. That's what this meeting is for.
Thank you. So my comment to our attorney was clarifying the address being stated for the public per our policy. Please, if you, when you approach this podium, state your name and your address, at least stating that you're the community and state that you live in. Thank you, Mr. Arroyo.
You're welcome.
My apologies if I say this name wrong. Cy Day Smith.
Hi, my name is Cy Day Smith. Good job. I'm not going to give my personal address. I will give, I was told it was okay to give our business address. We are an organization. We are a statewide organization, and we do have members that are here in Osceola County, but for privacy reasons, we will give our organization address, which is 1945 17th Street in Sarasota. Now, Representative Grohl, who sponsored the school chaplain bill, said that they see school chaplains as alternative mental health counselors. Their words. Now, the Florida Educational Equity Act states that guidance services and counseling services in the state public education system shall be available to all students equally. The definition of equal is of the same measure, quantity, or amount. This means that if religious counseling is available to Christian students at a school, it would also have to be available to Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, Islamic, etc., etc., etc. So my question to you is, are you prepared to provide readily available chaplains to meet the needs of the entirety of the diverse student body of every school? And if not, how is it not a violation of the Florida Educational Equity Act? How much of the public school funding have you set aside to fight legal battles that you will inevitably be facing when you fail to do so? According to the Osceola County school system, that's you guys, approximately 792 students currently live in hotels and motels throughout your county. These students need free lunches and school supplies, not thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Shannon Keever.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Shannon Keever. I am the Communication Director for Voices of Florida Fund, and our organization address is 1945 17th Street, Sarasota, Florida, 34234. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to our comments tonight. I'm a little confused on exactly what your purpose of bringing chaplains into your schools. I still don't understand Aaron Grohl's exact purpose, and I don't understand yours. If it is for mental health counselors, I think that Musai pointed out that they aren't necessarily trained mental health counselors. That's not their main job. I mean, it could be, but that's not what they're there for. So if you want to, I support bringing mental health counselors for our students, for their experience. If it's for scholastic and future career guidance, then you need to bring in more trained guidance counselors, not chaplains. Children see adults as an authority figure. Putting a religious person in schools is going to influence some of those kids based on those particular adults' faith. That's not fair. It violates their right to an education free of an established religion. There's one religion in this country that outnumbers all other faiths. There are many denominations, but they fall under the umbrella of Christianity. Therefore, we know that the vast majority, probably close to 100% of your chaplains will be of the Christian faith. Ask yourselves if you knew that 100%, almost 100% of these chaplains were going to be Muslim or of a pagan faith, would you still be implementing this policy? Everybody in this room knows you would not. And that's why it's a violation of the Establishment Clause in the US Constitution. Even if it was 50 or 30%, you probably wouldn't be doing that because you wouldn't want your children to be influenced by somebody else's religion. This is a very thinly veiled attempt to bring one specific religion into our public schools, and it's indoctrination. And I ask you to withdraw this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Helen Back.
Hello. My name is Helen Back. I am with Voices of Florida Fund, and we are here representing people who can't be here tonight. The United States of America is the land of religious freedom. Some claim that we are a Christian nation, but truly, we are a secular nation. We are home to more than 370 different religious bodies, according to the 2020 census. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of '64 protects all aspects of religious observance and practice as well as belief. It's defined religion very broadly for purposes of determining what the law covers. Religion includes not only traditional organized religions, but also religious beliefs that are new, uncommon, not part of the formal church or sect, only subscribed to by a few number of people, and even those that seem illogical or unreasonable. That's what makes this country beautiful. We are a melting pot of diverse individuals and communities from all over the world, and we get to worship however we want, or not at all. According to your website, there are more than 69,000 students in kindergarten through 12th grade in 60 schools across Osceola. Students here represent 140 different countries and speak over 98 different languages. That's amazingly diverse. I love that. If you adopt the volunteer school policy program, chaplain program, or policy proposal 3.81, as you're calling it, how will you ensure each of the 69,000 students has equal access to an appropriate leader of their faith? According to the article published by the FDOE on August 20th, the model policy for the volunteer school chaplain defines local religious affiliation as current official membership in a group that is in itself officially part of a religion and meets in person at least monthly at a location within the geographical boundaries of the school district. The next policy definition states, religion means an organized group led, supervised, or counseled by a hierarchy of teachers, clergy, sages, or priests that, 1, acknowledges the existence and worships a supernatural entity or entities that possess power over the natural world, 2, regularly engages in some form of ceremony, ritual, or protocol, and 3, whose religious beliefs impose moral duties independent of the believer's self-interest. Where did these definitions come from? And who got to make these rules up? This sounds very un-American to me. This sounds like it's not the freedom of expression for religious people. This sounds like religious discrimination. The thing about the separation of church and state is when you allow one religion to enter government-regulated spaces, you must allow equal access to all religions.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Even the ones that scare you. Please oppose this bill. Thank you.
Juliet Berries. Can you go first? I have a whole list here.
You can take my place.
I don't know.
I don't have a problem, board member, if a person wants to waste their time to support somebody else.
Can I ask who you would like to go next?
Pastor James Book.
Pastor James Book.
My name is Pastor James Book. I'm a taxpayer and I reside here in Osceola County. I've been to Sarasota, it's beautiful, but I actually reside here, so that's great. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. First of all, I was actually at the governor's signing, and I appreciate his views, and I appreciate his willing to open up our school systems to highly trained counselors and people who may be of faith. I was a little insulted tonight as I hear people of faith marginalized as uneducated and unable to communicate and meet the needs of hurting students. We have a number of public school students at the church in which I serve, a number of backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and we're not perfect, but we are more than capable of meeting their needs, counseling them through the challenges that they face. Thomas Jefferson's name was used tonight. Jefferson did use the word separation of church and state. For those who care about history, know that his term separation of church and state was written to the Danbury Baptist, confirming and affirming that there would be no state religion in the United States of America. Unfortunately, the left has misconstrued that term to include the separation from God, the church, marginalizing the roles of faithful people to anything secular. Now, let's talk a little bit about, is there a religion in the school system? We have a number of teachers in the public school system. I've worked and labored to help assist the public schools in the county in which I've been a part of. But the father of public education was John Dewey. And in 1933, he helped sculpt and define the Humanist Manifesto. We always know naturalism, that word was used too, and that's fine. Naturalism is the antithesis of intelligent design, which is the science, naturalism in the public schools. We understand that. So religion has been in the public schools for years. The definition of secular education, secular humanism, again, coincides with the father of public education. All we're asking is, in the spirit of tolerance, the spirit of diversity, in the spirit of inclusion, in the spirit of affirmation, it would be nice if we could open up in the spirit of tolerance, diversity, and inclusion, people of faith. The misinterpretation of separation is called for complete dismissal of religion, morals, and the hierarchy of truth from the school classroom. We're only asking for an opportunity, and I think the governor and the legislature has done a great job making sure no one is offended, no one is being accused, no one is being marginalized. When Daniel McCarthy wrote the Lost Generation of Youth article, 47% of our young people feel depressed. That's half the population in schools. 24% consider hurting themselves. And young people and Zoomers, aged 11 to 26, feel unsafe. And so the governor's point was, if we can go in and coach and assist counselors, not trump them, but assist them and encourage them in this journey through high school, we might be able to lessen the fears and the frustration of these students. I just would like to see a fellowship, a camaraderie between people of faith, faith-based community, and our school system, and the marginalization, the demonization that we've heard tonight is just not called for. Thank you for your time. Do the right thing. Very well.
Good evening, board. My name is Corey with Voices of Florida Fund, and I live over here in the beautiful Kissimmee at 2414 Winchester Boulevard. The last time that I was in Tallahassee, House Bill 931 was still going through committee. In these committees, interfaith chaplains took the dais, saying that they are not equipped in their training to deal with the complexities of a student's mental health. The role of a chaplain is to contribute to the spiritual and pastoral care of students. Supreme Court precedent says, in part, that religious activity must not occur during school operational hours or school-sponsored events. This proposed policy, 3.81, and this law is blatantly unconstitutional. Federally funded public education should remain secular. Any preference towards a religious group in any government-funded public school system is a clear bridge between church and state. In fact, board, school systems are not allowed to promote or favor religion or coerce students' consciences, and by the governor explicitly mentioning the Christian faith during the signage of HB 931, this sets a dangerous precedent to all school systems about the preferential treatment of religion and thus implicitly establishing a religion here in Florida. The opt-in forms to be instated are a violation of the coveted Parental Bill of Rights through the infringement on a parent's choice of education for their child. Even if a parent opts out their student from this program, there is a non-zero chance that these chaplains will interact with these students in the hallways. If parents want their children to have religious representatives within their teaching, then may I suggest going through with a school voucher offered by HB 1 instead of going into our secular, government-funded education. Thank you for your time.
David Williamson.
Good evening, thank you. David Williamson, on behalf of the Central Florida Free Thought Community, 83 Geneva Drive, Oviedo. Thank you for bringing this policy back again for discussion. It needs more time, additional consideration, and more voices need to be heard. There are 257 religious congregations in Osceola, according to the latest data we have. Just 14 are not churches. 14. If each has one member of clergy, just for the math we're doing, this means that there are 4 pastors for every school in the county, and just 1 minority faith leader for every 8 schools. So I guess they cover all of the minority faiths for those 8 schools instead of just their own. No matter how you do the math, the students will be served by this program are the ones that need it the least. You've heard tonight and will hear more about the many reasons that this is problematic for students, teachers, administrators, district staff, and for the citizens, very few of whom are clamoring for you to give clergy members office space and face time with students. Religious freedom is a fundamental right, to me as well. That's why I spend my time in this conversation as a member of the Central Florida Commission on Religious Freedom and the Board of Directors of the Interfaith Council of Central Florida. Because I believe in the good that people of faith can do, and I want to preserve their right to exercise that faith. But equally important are the students' rights to feel safe and welcome at school. If you're reconsidering Draft Policy 3.81, I'll point out again that Roman numeral 2, letter D, number 3 indicates that no matter what they say, as long as the chaplains believe it to be true, they cannot be accused of proselytizing. Calling kids severely mentally ill or victims of demonic possession, using threats of hell, are permitted by this policy as long as they believe it. I didn't make these things up. People in this room actually believe them. And if you're in the volunteer chaplain corps, that will be protected speech. If you think coaching will prevent that, you should seek legal opinions on what happens when the government attempts to tell clergy members what they can and cannot say. And according to Roman numeral 3, letter E, number 2, those conversations will be confidential and behind closed doors of an office paid for by our tax dollars. The ramifications of this are huge. The students will surely bear the brunt of it. For your clergy volunteer members as well, administrators will have to censor their remarks just to keep the peace. Assuming we even hear what was said in those confidential sessions. All this and more are why people are scared sick about a chaplain program. Not as much for the legal risk you're into, but the real harm that will be done when clergy are permitted to tell students what some of them really think about who they are, who they love, and how they act. I'm about out of time, so I'll just say that I'm looking forward to providing testimony to the committee when they meet to discuss the policy. And I will point out that it is common in these situations that people locally don't want to show their face or put their address on the record, so others come to speak for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Jocelyn Williamson.
Jocelyn Williamson. I'm with the Florida Humanist Association, 580 Easton Forest Circle, Palm Bay, Florida. I'm here today as the president of the Florida Humanist Association. I'm a mother, a child of a dedicated Florida public school teacher, a humanist clergy member representing families who are deeply concerned about the proposal to allow chaplains in our public schools. Our public schools must be safe havens for all students, regardless of their background, beliefs, or identity. Allowing chaplains in these spaces risks introducing religious bias and creating an environment where some students feel marginalized or even unwelcome. My mother, a high school teacher, had a student who was an outstanding football player, but he identified as Jewish, and his team's frequent prayers made him feel isolated. And after 3 years of struggling with this, he finally quit the team his junior year because he didn't want to have to continue to pray. Another student my mother had, at a time when students didn't provide support for LGBTQ students, the student who was and identified as LGBTQ took his own life because of a lack of support at home, but also from judgment from his family's faith community. After this, my mother became the first advisor for the Spectrum Club and her school, creating a safe place for LGBTQ students. The principal at the time was unwilling to use Gay Straight Alliance because he was so scared of that term. If we allow chaplains in our schools, we risk not only repeating, but also increasing this harm by spreading religion throughout the school experience, especially for marginalized students like LGBTQ youth and others who already struggle to be accepted. Please protect our schools as places of inclusion and acceptance for all students by rejecting this proposal. Let's ensure every child can thrive without fear of being judged or excluded. Thank you.
Lucienne Greaves.
Hi, Lucian Greaves on behalf of the Satanic Temple, 64 Bridge Street in Salem, Massachusetts. Last year, we suddenly noticed a proliferation nationwide in school chaplain bill model legislation. The bills were being advocated for by an organization calling itself National School Chaplains Association, which happens to be selling an 8-week school chaplain certification course through Oral Roberts University for about $3,000. NSCA claims that the goal isn't to proselytize, but to aid in addressing a student mental health crisis. Not surprisingly, mental health experts have advised against chaplains who aren't qualified to address and manage records for student mental health care, and instead for actual qualified counselors. Over 300 real career chaplains have signed on to a letter opposing public school chaplains, stating that chaplains are not trained to address student mental health needs. But now school chaplain advocates act as though their greatest concern is that only chaplains that they deem to be of the correct religion have access to the schools. The absurdity here is that somebody looking to gain access to schools for the purposes of exploiting children probably care little which religious banner they wave, and they are almost certainly more likely to choose the mainstream and relatively uncontroversial. Some of your churches have not had the best records regarding child care and safety. Maybe your church has had no such problems, but you cannot keep this program contained to your church. You cannot keep this program contained to your religion. Governor Ron DeSantis lied to you from the podium during a press conference after signing the school chaplain bill into law. He declared that Satanists would be disallowed. Such proclamations hold no legal weight and do nothing to overturn the Constitution, which guarantees religious liberty for all. Similarly, your Department of Education has released recommended policy guidelines that attempt to narrow the definition of religion to exclude Satanists. This also holds no legal weight and defies all relevant legal precedent. So the short of it is, you're voting on a policy that is unpopular, divisive, poorly planned, obviously dishonest in its goals, unnecessary, and introduces new risks to children, even if you are allowed to implement it according to your wishes. The reality is you'll have to accommodate religious identities you may not agree with. You will end up with Satanist chaplains. Vote how you will. Good luck, and God bless.
Warren Gilch.
Good evening. My name is Warren Gelch. I live at 2078 Derby Glen Drive near Gatorland. I'm not affiliated with anybody. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. My first point is that this law it requires background checks, but it doesn't even include any training requirements or the term definition of chaplain. That's up to you folks to decide. And when you do decide what the definition of chaplain is, that's eligible for slippery slope. It's eligible for leaving the school board, not the state, at risk for serious financial and unintended consequences. Many Florida district schools have already decided not to implement this policy. Secondly, our kids with mental health issues need experienced professional licensed mental health counselors with years of experience, education, not 8 weeks, and training to help kids. Now, the policy could be susceptible to untrained and individuals, even though there are certainly some chaplains that would be appropriate in certain instances, but not mental health is just too serious to leave it up to that. The third point is that the bill received opposition from Florida's most prominent faith leaders, such as the Council of Florida Churches, whom you may have already seen a letter from. However, Christian chaplains are enjoined by the gospel to proclaim Jesus Christ as the Lord. Where does that leave the Buddhist, the Hindu, the Muslim, the Jewish, the humanist students? They'd be pressured to leave their lifelong faith, that of their family and ancestors, and convert to Christianity. The U.S. Constitution does not permit promoting Christianity or any other religion in schools, in public schools. Fourth, no one here is ready to demonize religion. Everybody is welcome to have their own religion, whatever religion that possibly is. There's no need for the state to interfere with local school boards like yourself. There are plenty of religious schools around. Kids already have church, Sunday school, after religious organizations, and even religious sports teams. So it seems like that would be enough. And finally, the work of underpaid teachers, administrators, and this board is hard enough to do. without having to take on the work of a program that's not even required. Let's spend our taxpayer money on educating our children, not fighting lawsuits. With that, I strongly suggest you take no action on this bill, as many other districts around Florida have done. Thank you.
David Kay.
I'm Rabbi David Kay, and I chair the Board of Directors of the Interfaith Council of Central Florida, which represents 9 faith traditions and worldviews from Orange, Seminole, Lake, Osceola, Polk counties. I serve Congregation Ohev Shalom, whose members include residents of Osceola County, and I am the proud offspring of a public school, kindergarten, and elementary school teacher. As a rabbi for over 20 years, I've provided pastoral counseling to hundreds of individuals and families of all ages, backgrounds, and stages of life, and I can say with absolute confidence that none of that qualifies me as a school counselor or as an institutional chaplain of any kind. Those require specialized training, certification, and continuing education, none of which are included in the Florida law or the proposal before this board. Those are just some of the reasons why clergy organizations and associations of professional chaplains have opposed the school chaplain law and oppose its implementation. Now, don't get me wrong, I fully support students and families seeking out pastoral counseling if they so choose. In fact, I wish more would. That's part of my job. But at the same time, that option is already widely available for anyone in Osceola County at the house of worship or the faith center of their choice. Bringing religious leaders into the public schools is not only unnecessary, it is counterproductive. As anyone in the clergy could tell you, religious affiliation and worship service attendance have steadily declined over the last several decades. According to the Pew Research Center, less than half of Generation X and Millennials, the age cohorts most likely to have school-age children, are affiliated with any religion at all, and the number decreases further for Generation Z. Now, and in the foreseeable future, that means school chaplains from religious traditions would, at the very best, represent a shrinking minority of students in the schools. Nor should we pretend not to know that the faith tradition predominantly, if not exclusively, represented by school chaplains is going to be that largest faith tradition in our country. Unless you have experienced being part of a minority faith tradition or of professing no faith tradition whatsoever, you may not understand the profound discomfort that would be caused by walking into your public school each day and encountering a chaplain who not only does not share your beliefs, but quite likely personally, although one hopes privately, but we can't be sure, condemns your personal beliefs, or even you. It would be a far better use of time, energy, and resources for Osceola County and for the rest of the state of Florida to focus on broadening and deepening students' access to qualified and certified mental health and counseling services. May that common sense and true caring for all of our youth prevail here today. Thank you.
Nelly Hernandez.
Good evening. Nelly Hernandez, 2999 Moonstone Bend, Kissimmee, Florida. I am a local resident of Osceola County. And unlike many people that have spoken so far, I am boots on the ground with the local communities, hands-on with young people, teenagers and young adults. So when I tell you that I'm in support with this program, I know what I'm saying. And I'm not going to repeat and get all drowned out and confused by all the mambo-jumbo, super powerful words that have been spoken here. I keep it simple. Our children are broken and they're hurting. And they need all the help that they can get. And I wrote a lot of stuff down. I'm not even going to bother reading it. All I can say is this program is legal in Florida. It was not signed by executive order. It was done by the legislators. And there is a community that is anxiously waiting for this type of program to be offered. Nobody's going to force anybody. It's an opt-in. The parents are going to know what their children are going to be, or who they're going to be talking to. Okay, before we go like crazy, every program that is offered in the schools doesn't fit every student. We know that. So all these excuses that it has to fit every student is nonsense. Nobody's going to have to go
speak to a chaplain or a faith leader unless they want to, unless their parents allow it and sign it in, opposed to the pornographic, sex explicit program that has been going on in Osceola County for years. No parents was informed ahead of time. I never saw some of these leaders come up and speak against it. Where were they? But every time we talk about godly things, like the hair of a snake, they always pop up to oppose it. The bottom line is, a lot of these people, including religious leaders, they hate God. They don't want to deal with God. They want to continue the school system secular. That's the bottom line. But we need God back in, because ever since they removed him, all we've seen is death, destruction, sexual immorality, anxiety, mental health issues. And ask me, if I had a week to tell you what I face in those communities, and their parents, and the young kids that come to me saying, Miss Nelly, we need help. My friend committed suicide. This one is suicidal. The other one is so anxious that she doesn't want to come to school. Ask me. I live here. And I minister locally. I am boots on the ground. And a lot of the parents are not here because, like I said before, they're working 2 and 3 jobs to maintain their kids. None of these people that are speaking here know what they're saying. They're confusing the issue. And they want to create this mumbo-jumbo thing because they hate God, bottom line.
Thank you. My apologies on this next one. Reverend Francois, possibly?
I'd like to say good evening. I am Pastor Felix Francois. I'm a chaplain. I'm here to observe and I'm here to see what's going on. This is my first time here, but while I was watching, I see we probably need more, more Haitian people here, more Haitian pastors, more Haitian teachers. So in our community, because we have so many kids, so many Haitian kids in this, in the Osceola. So we need them to get involved and to know more about what's going on, so they can participate, they can be part of what's going on. So that's why I'm here, and I'm giving myself as a pastor to help, to help the school, to help the parents, to help the students. So I'm going to leave my phone number and my address. My phone number is 407-692-7315, and my address is 2827 St. Albert Circle. So Orlando, Florida, but I'm in both parts. I'm in Kissimmee, I'm in Orlando. Try to go in both meetings to see how I can be the voice for the parents. So we need chaplains, because a lot of parents sometimes, even kids, they don't have a chance to go to church on Sundays. Some of them, they just anywhere except church. So we need that. We need chaplain, so they can help. They can pray for them. They can lead them and guide them. So we need that. As a matter of fact, I'm a chaplain. So we need to work with the school board, be part of whatever going on, and help the parents, help the teachers, and help the students, so we can, at least we can do something for our community. So that's why I'm here, and that's all I want to say. I'm Pastor Francois. God bless you all.
David Chivers.
Good evening, David Chivers, 1603 Regal Oak Drive in Kissimmee. I'm here to speak against the Florida of Education model policy. I'm a humanist celebrant who does live in Kissimmee. If you're considering this, consider the significant burden that the process and decisions will obviously be placing on Osceola County. Whether it's a principal or someone else in the district, you're going to be asked to decide which religions are right, which religions are wrong, which religions can come in, which religions have to be held out. And they'd have to use the state's narrow definition of religion, with its overly broad definition of chaplain and the requirement to exclude some members of clergy based on certain beliefs and faiths, and ask you to make those decisions locally. These theological issues, these constitutional issues involving the Establishment Clause, involving equal protection questions of different classes and different belief systems which are not allowed to use school resources or school locations are nearly impossible even for judges and attorneys to make, much less school district employees who have been tasked to do this locally. So instead of focusing on the important mission of educating students, you'll be entangled in legal and moral questions regularly, risking costly litigation that'll divert attention and resources away from student needs. So please vote no on implementing any sort of chaplain policy. Thank you.
Chris Fontenot.
Good evening. My name is Chris Fontenot, and I live at 123 Main Street in St. Cloud. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of passing the school chaplain policy in Osceola County Public Schools. I read the emails and letters that were sent to the school board that were referenced at the last meeting. There was a lot of fear-mongering and threats of lawsuits, so I can understand wanting to take some time to digest the information and to do some research. The Florida Department of Education issued a model policy last week that helps to clarify some of the questions raised by members of the public and some misinformation. I'd like to suggest an implementation strategy. The process that's outlined in the model policy provides suggestions and guidance for school districts. If the actual vetting process would be too much of a burden on school principals, automation of existing district software can be utilized as a pre-screening tool and to determine eligibility. I imagine the district uses a program similar for job postings. So you list the position requirements and you complete an application process that includes uploading documents. The same process can be used for vetting volunteer chaplains. Those who meet the requirements outlined in the model policy would submit an interest form, upload the supporting documentation, and sign assurance that they would abide by the district, state, and volunteer chaplain policies. Their completed submission would be directed to the school district offices through an online portal, which they could also complete the OASIS background. When the volunteer school chaplain's background returns clear, their name could then be forwarded to a district form committee to verify eligibility and any remaining criteria included in the policy. Then forwarded to the district office to publish online. The required parental notification can be done using the same systems that we currently have in place. There is no reason that this needs to be overcomplicated or form a committee prior to approving a policy, as the criteria is already outlined and compliant with state statute. To those who oppose the school chaplains, citing constitutional violations, this policy is not imposing government-sanctioned religion or forcing children to meet with chaplains against their will. It's a voluntary program that allows 2 layers of parental rights. They must opt in and then choose which chaplain based on their beliefs and values will interact with their child. Guidance counselors are still an option for parents who do not want their families to participate. And as a Christian, I would support chaplains from all religions that meet the requirements of the state statute. Thank you.
Good evening, school board. Good evening, Dr. Shanoff and all our leaders. My name is Mark Peters, 4315 Beale Court, Kissimmee, Florida. And I've come to this evening, thank you for having me here, to support the chaplain policy. To encourage you, when it's time for you to vote in favor of it. And let it be an unanimous vote, that you're standing together. Now, there's been a lot of groups that came up here. It's amazing that they showed up from all over the state of Florida, maybe outside the state of Florida, to petition us in Osceola County to not enforce a rule, a policy that's been passed down from legislators. And also, they're misinformed of what the policy is. I hope you guys took time to read the policy, because it does not designate only Christian chaplains. And chaplain is a term used that's broad. It's not only dedicated to chaplain. As someone spoke, we need to understand the meaning. And for many of the groups that are here that are saying that it shouldn't be implemented, way back when we took out prayer out of this diocese, out of this district, because one of the board members said that we were at risk of lawsuits and being sued. But it was bogus, because you guys re-looked at the program, we looked over the prayer guide, and you open it, as it has always been, to everyone in the county, even outside of the county. If someone wants to come here and pray, they meet the requirements, they pray. There's no difference here with offering up the chaplains coming in. And you know, the CDC last year published a data that 60% of girls, young girls in our schools, are either thinking of a suicide, either thinking of hurting themselves, and this is girls and LGBTQ groups, thinking of hurting themselves. They desperately need, and they said in the past 30 years, they have not seen data this significant in our schools. So desperately this is needed. And it's not where it's going to be pushed on anyone. As it was said by the last speaker, it's an opt-in. The parents select the person, and it could be from any. And I'm a Christian, and I'm opening it up to every denomination, every faith, every group, every person who calls himself some kind of believer, some kind of thing they believe in. And so long they meet the requirements, let them be here. So the parents can select who they want, and then the student have to agree to meet with that person. It's not that these guys are going to be walking around the halls and start preaching in a corner. This is not it. So they're misinformed, trying to spread fear, trying to say, I have a form of 300 chaplains who have signed similar bill. Not this bill, no, they signed similar bill, something that we don't even know what it is, but they're coming here and petitioning you guys with false information. I'm telling you, vote in favor, unanimous, and show that Osceola County leaders will stand with the parents and their children who attend our schools. Thank you very much.
Michael Mello.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Mello. I live at 2220 Underwood Avenue here in St. Cloud, Florida. So I'm an Osceola resident, but more important, I'm a resident of the United States of America, and that's pretty important to remember here. So, as a concerned parent of 3 girls that are here also in Osceola County, I urge you to remember that this is not the job of the public schools to help kids with spiritual well-being. I fully support the right to practice your religion in your home and also places of worship. Absolutely, I would fight for your rights to do that. Students need certified and trained counselors, not chaplains, for their mental health support. Chaplains are simply not equipped to handle issues like anxiety, depression, or suicidal ideation. School counselors, on the other hand, are licensed, professional, trained. Let me repeat that. They're licensed, professional, and trained to address these concerns and improve student success through programs that have demonstrated success. Will taxpayers be responsible for the abuse these volunteers may inflict on our children because they're not licensed? They have no duty to report. They don't do the same sort of training that the licensed professionals do, and you're allowing them in the school. So I would think that would be some liability as well for everyone that lives here in Osceola County. Introducing religious clergy who are not necessarily even trained in providing spiritual care is dangerous and can lead to inappropriate application of religious doctrine and into mental health matters. Religious doctrine, even the people here who support this bill may end up disagreeing with. Additionally, chaplains cannot possibly offer unbiased services to all students, including those of different religions, LGBTQIA plus individuals, and the growing number of non-religious students like our 3 girls. Instead of compromising student care with inadequately trained clergy, we should focus on hiring and training qualified counselors to meet the mental health needs of all students. And if the clergy do want to have a program, why do they need to do it in a school? Why can't they just create their own program outside of the public schools and offer the programs to the people that want it instead of in our public schools? Thank you.
Evening, Blanca Perez. I reside at 2220 Underwood Avenue in St. Cloud. My voice is a little shaky because I'm a little nervous. I hesitated about coming up here because it is intimidating to give away my address and to state possibly an unpopular position. However, I am a speech-language pathologist with over 20 years of experience. 16 years of those were in the public school setting, serving K through 12. And sadly, I'm no longer with the schools due to shortages, lack of funding. That means astronomical caseloads, and therefore there currently exist severe shortages of SLPs at the schools. And so it saddens me to think that some of those funds are being diverted away from where there are needed services. I'm also here as a parent of 3 girls in Osceola County. I am here to oppose strongly this introduction of chaplains to the public schools. This program will jeopardize the fundamental right of our children to a secular education free from religious pressure. With chaplains on campus, you won't be able to avoid the inevitable promotion of religion on campus by school employees. The Constitution guarantees that students can attend public schools without being coerced into public religious practice. No child should feel compelled to pray, seek religious guidance, or participate in worship services while at school. The moment a teacher, counselor, or any employee even recommends that someone go speak with a chaplain, they've crossed the line into coercion. And I have to tell you, given the history, unfortunately, the bad news of sexual abuse of vulnerable children at the hands of clergymen, I, as a parent, would fear my child being placed in that position with a clergy member. I have to tell you that. And I feel that it is honestly in all our interest that we recognize that this policy would clearly undermine the religious freedom of parents. I don't want this to be an option at the schools. We must ensure that our schools are placing the emphasis on learning and not as venues for religious influence and indoctrination. Thank you very much.
Jason Harold.
Hi, my name is Jason Hurld, 12515 Crayford Avenue, Orlando, Florida. A bunch of microphones. I am in South Orange County, and it falls under District 25 because it sticks to Osceola. I'm a Florida native. I've been in Central Florida for 30 years. For 20 years, I've owned a home in District 25. I'm the son of a retired public school teacher who happens to be a Christian. I'm cisgendered, straight, white, male, happily married, childless cat owner with free time and privilege. So I'm here to speak my mind on asking you to oppose the pastures in schools. Pastures should be in pastures. There seems to be agreement that students would benefit from more counselors and mental health resources. Secular science-based therapy and guidance counseling are essential for a healthy society, especially when assisting students with mental health challenges that they may face throughout their adolescence and the life decisions they will be making. At the bill signing ceremony in April, our superintendent thanked Governor DeSantis for, quote, recognizing the role that spiritual guidance can have in enhancing the experience of our students, end quote. Yet the superintendent failed to also recognize the damage and trauma that spiritual guidance can cause both our students and our society. If Governor DeSantis wants to show leadership that will ensure Florida students receive the support they need to be successful, then he would allocate more funds to provide students with more trained professional guidance counselors and evidence-based mental health services, and not be risking taxpayers' money by passing legislation that will be subject to expensive lawsuits. A board member here accused their colleagues of committing a, quote, blatant and obvious sinking of a program that the governor came and started here. Well, it doesn't matter when or where the governor started a program if the program itself is discriminatory and unconstitutional. Any program that can promote one religion and discriminate against minority religions and secular organizations as this law can, it should be sunk. The First Amendment does not only protect the freedom of religion, but the freedom from religion. Indoctrinating children into magical thinking leads them to making poor decisions as adults, as one's beliefs affects one's decisions. Courts have consistently ruled that public schools cannot invite religious leaders onto campuses for prayer or religious counseling. This untested law does not need to be tested in Osceola schools, and have the schools go to court. Let another district deal with that one, not this one. I heard of the spirit of tolerance, inclusion, and diversity. Yeah, should we be tolerant of the intolerant or include those that exclude? Can diversity survive if the majority has the power to impose its own beliefs? Thank you.
The last name on this is Gabber. I can't really read the first name. G-A-B-R, the last name. The next one is Diana Graniella.
Was that last name G-A-U-R?
Oh, maybe a U. Yes, might be a U. Sorry, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Orpheus Gore, 3176 Phoenix Avenue in Altamar, Florida. I was born and raised and educated right here in Florida. Today I stand before you as both a member of the Satanic Temple and co-director of TST's Satanic Representation Campaign. In the last few weeks, we are excited to receive many messages from Osceola County parents eager to learn about Satanic chaplains and welcome our ministers of Satan to support their students in this district. However, that was short-lived, and the proposed Florida Department of Education's chaplain policy is profoundly troubling, and the manner is unconstitutionally defining religion in our state. As you consider adopting the state's model policy, which seeks to exclude federally recognized religious groups based on their beliefs, you should be apprised of the threat this poses to our civil liberties. You should be particularly alarmed in light of the board's decision regarding the school chaplain policy. Just 2 weeks ago, board member Heather Cahoon requested to pull the chaplain policy from the scheduled vote due to fears of, quote, other people coming in and, quote, making a mockery of her professed faith. It became evident the Satanic Temple was the target of these exclusionary efforts when board member John Arguello revealed the concern stemmed from an email at 4:35 or 5:01 p.m. at the time that the Satanic Temple's email arrived that day. The delay that followed was no mere coincidence. It was a deliberate stalling tactic, an attempt to exploit a non-existent constitutional loophole that would allow the board to exclude the religious group that emailed you at 4:57 p.m. on August 13th. This maneuver not only reveals a blatant disregard for the principles of the First Amendment, but also exposes selective and misguided interpretation of constitutional rights by this board. In closing, I urge you to recognize that religious freedom is not a privilege to be selectively granted to your preferred congregants. If you choose to introduce religion, I urge you to recognize that religious freedom is not a privilege to be selectively granted to your preferred congregants. If you choose to introduce religion into our public school system, you have a constitutional responsibility to extend equal participation to all the religious groups who want to participate. Implementing a policy designed to exclude chaplains from satanic, humanist, Buddhist, and other non-supernaturalist backgrounds while favoring certain religious groups would be a clear act of discrimination and a betrayal of your duty to the community. While courting favor with Ron DeSantis might be tempting for some board members, your primary responsibility is to serve the community, including those with differing beliefs. Members of the Satanic Temple are integral to the fabric of your schools and neighborhoods, and our rights are inalienable as anybody else's. I'll leave you with the Satanic Temple Satanic Representation Campaign's contact information. All board members are welcome to reach out with any questions about our satanic chaplains or for...
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thank you, PLC.
I have next Julia Tavares. In addition to this, Diane Knight has given her time to Julia Tavares. We do not have a policy on this, so we will allow it. You have 6 minutes. Are we able to adjust the timer for 6 minutes or do 2 3-minute timers?
At the last board meeting, let me see, Julia Tavares, 520 Hunter Circle. At the last board meeting, the vote to halt the chaplain program in our schools was detrimental as many students are in desperate need of guidance and mentorship. Families breaking apart, financial problems, and societal issues can really take a toll on any person, but even more so on our youth who are dependent on adults to take care of them. Many children are lacking healthy personal connections at home. Many children don't have a positive role model they can look up to. Many haven't been taught what a healthy relationship looks like. As a result, they have not developed healthy personal skills to relate to others. Many are struggling to have peace, stability, and security. This program would allow and assist our youth by addressing the mental and behavioral problems, therefore improving the overall well-being of our community. Having 1 to 2 maybe counselors for a school is not enough. Families deserve the option to seek help from like-minded professionals who can understand their values and principles. Having this program shows good faith towards the community, a willingness to work together for the betterment of our society. Just as we have the school choice option, this program should also be an option for those interested. It requires parental consent and in no way is it mandatory. Many have diminished the impact of how spiritual health can impact the physical and mental well-being of a person. Let's bring faith, hope, and love to our community by approving this much-needed program to all who eagerly desires it. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Diana Graniella.
Diana Graniella, 1431 Simpson Road. I come in support of the chaplain program. First, let us be clear about what the chaplain program is and what it represents. This program provides an essential service for our community by offering spiritual guidance, emotional support, and a comforting presence in times of need. Chaplains serve people from all walks of life, regardless of their religious beliefs, providing care and compassion in hospitals, schools, the military, and other institutions where people often seek solace during challenging times. The chaplain program is about compassion, support, and community. It is about ensuring that in moments of crisis, individuals have access to the care they need, care that is often spiritual in nature. It does not force anyone to conform to a particular set of beliefs, but rather it honors the diversity of beliefs that makes our community strong, welcoming anyone who seeks its services, regardless of their faith background. It is not about imposing one belief system over another, but rather offering an option for those who find strength and peace in spiritual guidance. Our society is built on the principles of freedom and diversity. The essence of freedom is allowing people to make their own choices about what they believe and whether or not they engage with programs like the one we are discussing today. This program is voluntary, allowing individuals to seek spiritual support if they so desire with parental consent. Let the parents decide. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but fears of coercion, sexual abuse, and infringements on our civil liberties already happens in our community. May we face our giants and not fear them.
Thank you. Steve Treisler.
Trissler. Good evening. I'm Steve Trissler. I live in District 5 up on McMichael Road, and I'm just curious as to why in 1791, I believe we got the First Amendment, and then 1947 we had Eversole versus Board of Education, and we've settled this issue several times in the past. 250 years we've been a country, we've argued this issue. My grandparents argued this issue, and their great-grandparents argued this issue. Why are we here again today arguing an edict from Jacksonville as to why, or Tallahassee as to why we've got to have religious accommodations made in the school? And what have you done? What have you done to ask for clarification, get specifics, or have them fix this for us? This was handed to us, dictated to us, now we have to deal with it. What have you done to tell them to fix it for us? They sent this down here, they wanted this show. Somebody wants this. They want us fighting. What have you done to tell them to fix it so we don't fight? Thank you.
We we are on to our attorney's report. Do you have a report or any legal issues for us to discuss?
The only thing that I would like to just advise the board this evening is that I developed a sunshine law training for our school advisory councils, and I will be meeting with Mr. Boyd and Dr. Torres next week to discuss how our school advisory councils are going to have that training so that we can make sure that they comply with sunshine law.
Ms. Castillo, you're recognized.
Thank you. I had a school advisory counselor parent ask me about that specific training. Will you be going to the training as the attorney to train them, or will you relegate that training to someone else?
That training is going to be relegated to Dr. Torres and John Boyd. It's not my place to be training the public, so I am providing them the information, and at that point, they are going to speak to the school advisory councils. I believe that's how it's going to go. It hasn't been completely decided if they're actually gonna do it or they're gonna have people do it. But any questions that they do get that they're not equipped to answer, they can bring back to me and I can discuss them with them.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Arguello, you're recognized.
I just want to point out again that you just had another conversation off the record with the attorney, and that's completely and totally inappropriate.
My conversation was when I stated that we were giving 3 minutes of time because we didn't have a policy from one constituent to another.
Do you understand that that's not supposed to be private, a conversation between you and the
Thank you, Mr. Arguello. We are on to
It would be great if you would follow our
new
policies that you
business.
expect everyone else to follow.
15.02, you are recognized for policy proposal 3.01, Mr. Arguello.
15.01?
15.02, you said you called.
Okay, yep, 15.02, okay. So this is the issue that everyone is here for. I'm gonna state this, which is very clear for a community that needs to be said, and it needs to be said clearly and truthfully. There's two groups here. One of the groups does not care about our kids at all. They're not here to protect our kids. They're not here to protect our community. They're not here to serve. They are here to implement their ideology upon our school district. And then there's a group here that is interested in the furtherance or a betterment of our community and to protect our kids, to protect our families, to protect our schools. And that's the split here. There's not another split. There's not a freedom split, because here's the thing. Number one, the moment that you lie about what this policy or program are is the moment that you lose all credibility, and it's very clear that you're not here to help or promote or bring good. You're here to do the exact opposite. And a lot of the groups here are doing nothing but scaring people with falsehoods and lies. It's totally inappropriate. I expect that from my neighbors on the dais, but I don't expect that from people in the community to come up here, put their name on the record, and just lie about what the programs are. Number two, our record. The school district of Osceola has a horrendous record of protecting the emotional needs of our students. Horrendous record. You just saw a parent come up here earlier and talk about their child being restrained in a manner which appears or sounds initially to be against our policy. Well, that's pretty common in Osceola County. And I guarantee you that the social, emotional outcomes of those things for that student are not positive. That's a fact. Those records you can see. But this school district and school districts across the state and country are one of the few organizations that can completely and totally fail in their mission, constitutional obligations, and then receive from the people that were failing another $2.2 billion in tax money to continue to fail. That's a fact that's actually going on. Just look at our proficiency. We come here, we slap each other on the back. Great job. For the first 3 years prior to the superintendent, everybody got an award. Every year we got participation trophies for doing everything but educating our kids. Look at our kids' performances. It's not good. Now, look at their health, their emotional health. It's not positive. We're not providing them with an environment in which they can produce academically. That's a fact, or it would be happening. But we're failing in that. And you guys are complaining about bringing in a potential program which may help students actually achieve academically and be healthier as an outcome. That's what you're fighting against. It doesn't make any sense. This is a purely volunteer process. And we can lie about the program, or we can be honest about what the program is. No student is going to be force-fed any thought of religion or anything else. It's purely voluntary, and it's not going to cost a dime to the taxpayer.
Thank you, Mr. Arroyo. Mr. Ramsey, you're recognized.
I'd like just to say, like I did last meeting, I 100% agree with the chaplain program, but I do understand there's a lot of concerns up here. So I would like to ask staff if they could send a survey to the school administrators and teachers of how we can apply this in our policy when we rewrite it and be brought before us for the next policy meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Arroyo. You're recognized.
Wow. I mean, if that's the way that you fight for the community, I hate to see the way that you fight for your family in need. The adherents to the radical leftism are the other side, by the way, and I wanted to make sure that that's clear. These are ideologies that are fighting against this program. Number two, if there was a student who came up here asking for, hey, I want to be chemically castrated because I'm a transgender ideologist, the school board members on this dais would pay for the Uber to send that student to go to the clinic.
Shame.
But here, in this situation, a student comes and they ask for spiritual guidance because they need something that is different than what we're offering, and they want to cut it down or provide some lukewarm voting because they're running for office. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We can gaslight and obfuscate and confuse and deceive. But all those things are very clear to the people who love their children. And that's not what's being protected here today, as you can see. I speculate that there's far more abuse of sexual natures, of anything else going on in our schools than there are in any religious facility in Osceola County. You don't believe that? It's easy. Look up the news, just type in sexual abuse, and I'm sure that the top 3 is going to be all school related. All school related. What is the problem here with the environment that we're offering our students in? Why aren't your kids doing it? We have parents working 3 and 4 jobs just to survive, and they're not understanding the actual amount of pressure, societal pressure on these kids. And this is just a way for them to talk to somebody in a positive manner. That's all this is. And it's optional. It's not something that's going to happen routinely. It's not something that's going to be forced upon any student. The parent knows about it. We had a student come up here prior. We had a student come up here a couple years ago, their parents, because the school district, working backwards from the final outcome there, the school district called CDF on that parent because the parent was demanding their student records, because the school, through a guidance counselor, was helping some student be confused about their identity. And we called DCF on that parent because they were trying to protect their kids. That's not protecting. That's not protecting. That's not providing the guidance, the counseling that a student needs. We can be honest, or we can be crazily and mentally ill. You can choose that. You can choose that. But those things don't bother me and they don't scare me, and I'm not going to be intimidated by a bunch of crowds of people who don't care anything about our kids. Because I'm actually a man that will fight for his family and fight for his community, and I don't care what all these crazy people say. I know that the kids are hurting. All you got to do is walk in our school campus 5 minutes and you'll see that students are hurting spiritually. They're hurting emotionally. And we're not doing anything about that. All we're doing is worried about getting a kid to graduate on a piece of paper. And if you think that that's servicing you, the people who are happy for this program to go down, the people that are happy about that environment and continue giving themselves participation trophies are the exact people that benefit. Because as long as you're absolutely in a sense, in an environment and a sense of confusion, then they benefit.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Ramsey, just had a clarification of the request that you made. And first of all, thank you for being thoughtful and recognizing that there are some board members that still have questions, even though you already have a clear idea of where you'd like to go. Was your request for a survey to survey the teachers and administrators as to whether or not they would want to have this program implemented, or as to how it would be implemented, just for clarification?
How it will be implemented and any help from them of what their ideas are, how it would make it work better.
Mr. Arroyo, you're recognized.
I'm going to bring this up for the next school board meeting as an actual agenda item in which we adopt a state policy in which we fill in the blanks that are required by that time. I'm gonna submit my proposed language, and then that will be on the agenda next week to consider. I don't think that we need to ask anybody in the school district what they think that we can do. What you're doing is kicking the can down the road. And it may not matter to you. It actually matters to me because I actually intend on making something happen that's positive for the community. We can pretend that as the only independent person up here who's not owned by their donors, I very much think it's important that we actually get the program adopted and then fill out this language, which is already written by the state.
Mr. Melendez, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had some issues on the process and how this becomes a policy at the last board meeting. And since those questions were brought up, for instance, I have a couple there. How many chaplains is there? What is a training? What are the requirements for being a chaplain? Then the model policy came out a week after that, and I read the memo. And now there's a significant difference between what we see in what was written in 3.81 and what the model policy is that's being submitted to the Department of Education. So technically speaking, that has to reintroduce the policy-making cycle all over again, because you can't just modify a comma or hear a word for the prior policy to still be in effect. In other words, when it starts going through public hearing number 1, public hearing number 2, public hearing number 3, there cannot be a significant change between what was proposed and what is being voted on at the very end. Since there is a significant change between what was originally proposed and what could be now, it has to get reintroduced into the policy procedure all over again. And the issue that I had last time was that, kind of like what Mr. Ramsey is bringing up now, there are people who have concerns about the implementation of this policy. Even the state of Florida had a concern with it. That's why they gave the policy guidance to try to be more clear with it. I recommend that not just through surveys, but as we mentioned before, I believe in the and kind of like what I mentioned last time, was creating a task force. Each school board member can appoint somebody of their choosing, somebody from the community or whatever that criteria would be, and then staff can actually come as well. The superintendent can appoint 2 or 3 people where it doesn't feel like it's stacked against the deck, but the reality is the implementation is going to require staff to be able to faithfully execute. So to not have staff in that committee meeting is not being true to the policy being implemented in the schools. Is it after school? Is it before school? Is it during lunch? Do you pull a student out of class? I mean, there's a lot of logistics behind it. And a lot of folks like to play politics, but the reality is there's an implementation factor that is lacking. And so I really believe that we just don't survey folks and get results back, because surveys can be biased and can be manipulated. This needs to be a public forum where there's an actual task force created for the specific purpose of merging the two together. That is the desire of the legislature, but also the desire of the local community on what they want. Because if they don't want it, then we have to follow the will of the people. Or if they want it, but they want it in an amended form, then we should respect that. Because I do believe in community input. The community had no real input into creating or crafting this legislation or this policy. So this is an opportunity for them to do that. And so I would be in favor, I don't know if there was a formal motion, but if there is an appetite for this policy to go through to fruition, that it get reintroduced in the policymaking cycle with a task force created with each individual board member appointing somebody to that task force.
Thank you, Mr. Melendez. I don't have a light, so I'm going to take a point of privilege since I have not spoke on this matter yet. I do appreciate the various concerns and support or opposal of this item tonight. Obviously, we have a robust community looking to give their input on this. I appreciate Ms. Fontenot giving the example implementation plan, which is something I think is lacking in what we are trying to do here. This did not go through the complete rulemaking cycle. This was only added to rulemaking at the last board meeting. So it was not workshopped by us as other items that were in rulemaking had been done. So I do think that there is more discussion needed. As Mr. Melendez just stated, we didn't have a time to talk through this and figure out what we wanted to do as far as the district goes in implementing this policy. I have my own ideas on how I think we can implement this, so what I would like to do is workshop this and do this through rulemaking, as we should, through the entire process. So that is my statement on this. Mr. Arroyo, you are recognized.
How many policies have we actually done what you're proposing on? It's funny that this is the one program that gets so much attention, and it's a matter of the pressure of the people here, the reason that you're acting this way, because we have had a million different proposals, policies come up here. Nobody's ever complained about it. It's probably barely even read by most of you, and now all of a sudden you want to workshop it. You want to, we're going to make a committee. We're going to talk about, this is a non-cost program that we just offer. And since when do we not allow our administrators or the superintendent the flexibility to create the rules on a program? Under normal circumstances, we would turn it over to the superintendent and say, superintendent, okay, find out what's best for the school district. Find out what's convenient. Find out what the administrators want. You do your due diligence, you execute the program. We're providing you the board level guidance to enact the program, to execute the program. But now we're like, oh, no. The superintendent can't do this. Now we are going to take the process or the responsibility, and we're going to go and we're going to meet with people. We're going to create a committee. We're going to do all this stuff. It's basically all of you being afraid to make a decision here before your community. That's all it is. It's just cowardice. It's easy. The school district executes all aspects. Our job is, as a school board, to decide as a matter of policy whether or not we tell the superintendent to execute the program. We've had how many rule cycles come before us where you guys never had a single ounce of input in any of the policies? How many of you have even read the policies? I mean, it happens every single meeting. It's just a farce, and I'm sorry that I'm inclined not to let you get away with it, to pretend like you're doing this for any other reason than ideology, which is the only reason. It's the ideology, it's purely ideology, and because you guys all, if you go check your financial donors, are bought by the same people, they're telling you, this is what you're gonna do, this is what you're gonna say, this is what you're gonna do. Otherwise, you would be able to just man up and say, I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna do that. Just be honest. Just fight for something that you believe in, if there's anything that you believe in. You don't want to do the program. I get it. Your ideology prevents for you from supporting it. Or you do, and then fight for it like a man or an adult. Do one or the other. Okay? But you trying to walk the fence and you trying to say, oh, I'm going to be quiet because I don't believe in it, I don't want it, I'm going to kill it at some point if I can. I mean, just be honest. Just be honest and do it. So vote your conscience. Do what you believe you should do. I will motion to implement this program. And I will leave it to the superintendent on how best to implement the program, just like everything else.
Thank you, Mr.
That's a motion.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Ramsey. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion dies. Mrs. Steele, you're recognized.
I withdraw my comment.
Thank you. With that, we are on to 15.03. Mr. Arguello, you're recognized. Protocol for media and school board members.
So recently, I had a reporter complain to me that the chairwoman of this Osceola County School Board was telling the media that there is a protocol in which they had to reach out to you before they reached out to a elected official to be interviewed. I think that is, number one, not part of our policy. Number two, it's absolutely ridiculous. Number three, it shows a way overreach of your control. At the end of the day, we need to make clear what our policy is and is not. You are not in charge of what school board members say to the media or not. That is not your charge. And I would like for the superintendent to direct the public relations to not try to guide or control what public relations, how public relations disseminates interviews or deals with the media. That's not their job to do. That's not their job to determine who's going to speak on a certain matter.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to hear the superintendent's views on the issue. Is that something that the public relations team has been directed on?
I'm not exactly sure so has it been directed to?
Is there some kind of policy or is there some kind of directive to the public relations team that the media is supposed to reach out to Heather Cahoon instead of any other school board member they choose to interview?
The media can reach out to whoever they choose, there is no policy.
Yes, I understand that, but is there a directive from the school district to the public relations team stating that they should direct interviews in a certain manner or fashion?
I'm not aware of that directive.
Okay, so then there's not then, I would imagine. You would be the one to make that directive, correct?
Unless my predecessor made that directive. I have not made that directive myself. No, to answer your question.
Thank you.
Mr. Melendez, you're recognized.
Yeah, and I want to mention too, I've never heard of this directive, and I've always been accessible to the media for different interviews, and they've interviewed me multiple times. So I don't know where this is coming from. So just being on the record that I've spoken to the media multiple times and never felt compelled to pass anything to the chair.
I don't have a light, so I will take a pronoun privilege. I have never interfered with any board member on this dais having any communication with the media. At the last board meeting we were here, you and Ms. Castillo were making comments to the media at that time. I think I told Ms. Castillo, oh, go do what you gotta do, when she told me she was doing it. I've never once said that a person from the media cannot talk to anyone on this dais. Thank you. Mr. Arguello, you're recognized.
Yeah, I've spoken to some reporters who said to me that you specifically told them that the protocol is for them to reach out to you specifically to get approval to do those types of things. Not that it matters for me, I'm heading into my last meeting, but the fact is that would be a tremendous overreach of any authority that you have, and that's not the way that the media is supposed to operate or interact with any of the school board members. Obviously, there's many different views. Each school board member represents the community, and when they do represent the community, it's not supposed to be through interference or control of a school board chair. So I'm just saying that that's what the media brought to my attention. Maybe we should have a policy so that the PR team understands that they can reach out to anyone, to any school board member at least, who they choose.
Thank you. Do you have a motion?
I'll write one and I'll put it on the next agenda.
Thank you. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Oh, sorry. Actually,
I'll just talk.
You adjourned it.
thank you.
Finance committee tomorrow, if anybody wants